Hello to the folks joining us. Let's give it just one more minute here, let a few more folks hop on, and then we'll get started. All right. Thank you for everyone who is joining our monthly customer webinar today. This session is for our Evolve mechanical users to get a chance to work directly with our customer success and product teams. In these monthly sessions, we demonstrate features, go over some of the common questions that we get, and we will be taking your questions live today. So please go ahead and use the Q&A function in your Zoom toolbar to submit questions, and we'll get to those at the end. And here is a look at your dedicated Evolve team that we have on the call here today. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and we will forward the recording to all registrants. And you can also find more webinar recordings and demos on our YouTube channel. And not pictured here, but joining the call today is our Evolve content manager, Lucas Espinoza. So I'm going to hand things over to him to kick us off.
Thanks, Marina. As Marina said, I am the content manager for Evolve. I oversee our Revit family development, our ITM database, and anything content related. Those of you, some of you on the call may remember a few months ago, I announced my intent to expand our mechanical RFA library. We asked for your feedback. We posted on our features board, and many of you responded. And we've since taken some of that feedback and started development. Next week on our weekly office hours at 2 p.m. EST, I think, I will be showcasing our latest development with that. The focus of these RFAs is to be very highly configurable, essential elements, modeled only, very easy to use, lightweight for best performance, and scalable for your own personal needs. Next week at the first one, I'll be showing up the first three families that I've been developing, that being a rooftop unit / air handling unit that's very configurable, a VAV box unit, and some lay-in diffusers. If you can, I'd love for you to attend if that sounds interesting. Even if those are not mechanical families, or if you're a plumbing contractor, they're not families you're interested in, I encourage you to come just to see kind of the direction I'm taking some of these families and what the intent is, and maybe even give you some ideas about how, what you would want in the future. We are still taking feedback. And so to that point, I am going to post in the chat here. Second. That is the features board page that I made a few months back, and many of you responded to. If you have ideas for additional RFA content, please respond to that and post what you're looking for. Additionally, this week we had our first MEP Force Roadshow. If we happen to have an event near you and you attend, and I'm there, please find me. I would love to speak to you in person about what content you're looking for us to build on the mechanical RFA side of things. So again, next week at our weekly office hours, I will be showcasing our latest developments on mechanical RFAs. So please attend if you're interested. Thanks. Back to you, Marina.
Thanks so much, Lucas. And I believe Adam is going to dive into a few Revit features today. Adam.
Awesome. Thank you. Let me share my screen here. So today, I want to go through the Evolve reports. I'm going to cover a few other things, but to start with, we've finally updated our sample files. So to find these, you do have to be a company admin. So when you log into the Foresight website, and you click on the little upper right waffle, if you don't have an admin module, then that means you're not an admin. So talk to your BIM manager, whoever, and let them know that these sample files are available. They can go to the admin module and then go to company properties, and there will be a link here to download those. So that's where I'm going to start here, and I will start with kind of walking through what to do with this zip file. So when you download it, I've extracted it on my desktop here. There's going to be these three files. There'll be an evolve folder and a couple of README documents. These README documents are talking about some of the changes with the reports, specifically if you've previously used one of our reports, how we made it. We did some report naming, so you could have some conflicts there where you just have to delete the old and bring in the new. So this just talks about those steps. So let's just assume here that this is your first time using them, and you've extracted the file, the zip file. So really what you want to do to jump kind of right into the sample files and use these out of the box is go to your C drive and go into the temp folder. So, uh, so when you take this evolve folder, just take this, move it right over here. You'll see I just renamed the previous one old. If you want to keep it, do something like that. It's not gonna, well, this will break the reports from the old version, but it'll give you a quick way to bring in the new. So once you've copied this over to ctemp, then you can go ahead and open the model. So I'll go ahead and navigate there to do that. So basically what you'll have is a folder, this V104. Inside here, you'll find the sample model, and go ahead and you can open up the EM sample model. I see a question post about the annotation path fixed. So we did fix the issue. However, there still seems to be a lingering bug with this, and I'll have more information. We just kind of identified it over the last couple of days. So I'll have more information soon where I will post this information. Let me just pull this up and make sure everybody's aware of this. On the announcements and release notes page on the help doc, there is a known limitation document where we're listing out the various known bugs or fixed bugs and things like that. So this is where I'll post information on that issue. Basically, the current workaround is you basically have to rebuild. If you're referring to the custom annotations, what you'll have to do is actually delete out your tags and repath them completely. What you'll find will happen is when you redo your path, if you hit OK, it won't keep the path. So if that's the issue you're experiencing, which I assume it is, you can work around it by basically starting over. But again, I'm going to try to see if I can figure out a better workaround or what the issue is exactly, and I'll get more information on that. Okay, so jumping into the sample files. So like I said, I want to cover reports here. And what I think I'll do is I'm going to give a little context to this by talking about data profiles and how that kind of works, because that's essentially what's driving the data to a report. So I guess while I'm covering that, again, you can go and download the sample files, and by the time I get through that, hopefully you can get this fired up on your end and follow along if you want to. So the data for a report, let's open the report manager and just look at a couple things first. I'm going to expand this out. So when you open this project file for the first time, you'll see a few things here. A couple that are worth pointing out are these file paths. So as I said at the beginning, when you extract this zip folder, put it to ctemp. The reason it's set up that way is so you don't have to touch anything here. for it to work. If you extract this file to this file path, everything should work right out of the box. Reports will work like you're going to see here. If for some reason you can't go to CTemp, you can certainly put this anywhere you want. It's not a problem. However, you'll have to make sure you update these two file paths, one being the one that contains the report files, and the other one which contains the specific REPX file, which is the report itself. So a report, the data within the report, like actually what gets reported, again, is driven by a profile. This supports multiple profiles. As you can see here, there's a primary and an additional. It can support more than two. You can basically put multiple profiles here if you want to. You'll see most of them actually have two reports. We have a project information profile and then some other profile. Project information is just getting your Revit project info, project name, address, things like that. I'll show that in a little bit. And then the other report that's, probably has an EM prefix, that's really pulling the real data. When you're doing this, if you're creating something from new, the reason we use the project information as a primary profile is it actually improves the load time. So when you're generating a report, if you had these two profiles switched, it'll take longer to load. So that's why we do this one first. So just a little heads up there. So let's back up and talk about what a profile is, to give some context to what you're going to see when you pull up these reports. So if we go to the utilities ribbon here, panel, and go to data profiles, data profiles is a project-based config. So again, when you open up this sample model, what you see that I have here is what you're going to see as well. So these data profiles can be saved within the project so that all Revit users that are in this project that have Evolve can see these. What a profile is, the way I think about it, it's a way of creating a container and then defining what parameters or attributes you want to evaluate. We can actually use profiles in a couple of different ways in Evolve. So I'm going to show one of the ways that you could probably take advantage of with kind of an everyday usage of with Evolve. So what I'm going to do is I'll create a simple profile, and we're going to see how we can use this off the bat. So I'll just give it a name. A profile is mainly driven by an element filter. So here, we'll just do ductwork. So I'm just going to grab all ductwork here. So pretty simple element filter. Obviously, we can get as complex as we want and granular as you want based on that element filter. The next thing is a direction. So the import export. So if you're using a data profile within our utilities, reports, find elements, which I'll show in a minute, that's going to be an export profile. Import allows you to use our CSV exchange and bring in data from Excel, for example. So this tool has been around for a while in Evolve. The main use was basically be able to take data out, put data back in. That was the main purpose of it, and we've just expanded on it from there. Your selection scope should be pretty straightforward here, whether you do entire project, active view, current selection, or you can get prompted to make a choice when it executes. So I'll just keep entire project for this example. So this upper part basically defines the profile name and what are the elements that you're going to use based on the element filter. This bottom portion are what are the fields you want to display. So I'm just going to give just a quick example here. Let's do family name. And this will not be a very exciting one. You'll see as I start typing into this parameter, I'll just grab family and type for this example. When you drop this down, you'll see a whole bunch of parameters. This is list is being driven based on this element filter. So I said FabDuck, that's what I get. Um, and certainly, like always, even if you don't see the name of the parameter that you're typing into, you can go ahead and type it in. And if that parameter exists, we can grab it. So let me just do one row. I'll do a couple more after this and expand on it, but hopefully this will get the uh, point across and what this can be done. So I'll hit OK here. So find elements is a utility to basically find and query the model and display the results of what you're looking for. It's all driven by a data profile. So the first thing you're going to do when you open Find Elements is you got to refresh this list. This is a dock pane. You can toggle between multiple projects while this is open. So, and this is a project-based search function. So every time you switch project views or project that's in focus, you'll have to refresh this to get a list of the profiles available. So here's my new test profile, and I'll hit this find, hit the refresh button here, and you'll see I get a whole bunch of stuff, all FabDuck. Um, Obviously, what I can use this tool for is one, just to query a list of items if I want to, or I could select something, use my find element tool to jump right to the part. You'll see it will select it and kind of do a zoom extents. So pretty straightforward there. I'm just getting the family name. So if I wanted to expand on this, I can go back to this profile here, add something else. Bottom elevation, why not? Hit apply, refresh. There's my bottom elevation. So I'm getting 0 and everything. Not sure why. Maybe it's not available. It's probably called something else. It's called bottom, not bottom elevation. So that's probably pulling from another field. So let's see what this gives me. Refresh. There we go. So you'll see I'm getting actually decimal feet here, which is the way project Revit deals natively with project units or length units. So I can change that by using my display value here. Refresh it again, and again, nice little feet and inches. So just this is, obviously just a little quick example. You'll see a lot of you'll have access to all the profiles that are in the project, but you could certainly come around through here and just run some of those profiles and see what you get for results, and you'll see all the various fields and parameters that we use. But this can be a very useful tool, like I said, everyday use, query a model, find information. You're in an Evolve grid, so you always have this ability to export to Excel, which everybody loves to do. So you have those options. All right, so again, hopefully that kind of gives some context to what a profile is. So let's jump into the reports, and I just want to kind of go through, excuse me, I just want to go through the reports that we put out there, talk about some of the changes from the previous sample files and how to kind of take advantage of what these are today. So let's start with, let's just start with the sample report. So we threw the sample report. This is a really basic report. Let me just hit the print button here and take a look at what this is. This isn't going to be anything too exciting or really too useful per se as a report that you would use to do anything. Really, the intent of this is to give you kind of a very simple structure of a report that returns data fields. And so then you could potentially modify this as needed. What you have on the left here will be, as we see in other reports, you'll have different grouping options, filtering options, things like that, that allows you to, on the fly, group and modify the report itself. So here I could say include locations, and when I submit it, you'll see I get some, let's see if I get some location data here. Oh, I wasn't looking. It includes the location column, and then if I include the package and spool, it gives me my package and spool columns here. So you'll see some of these have data, some of them don't. So again, really basic report. To edit a report, the button all the way to the right here will open your report designer. So right off the bat, what we're looking at here is not an Evolve report designer. This is the DevExpress report designer. It's going to be very similar to like a Crystal report builder. And again, for the sample report, you start to see how we're kind of defining the headers, how the column fields over here are being set. You get the different relationships down here. If you want to know more about how to modify a report, it's best to go to the Evolve University site and go through our course on reports. We have, I think it's a few hours of report tutorials that are available. So I'm certainly not going to go in here and talk about how to calculate fields and do all that kind of stuff. It's way too much information to cover in a session like this, but just want to know that is available. And I'm going to pull this up real quick just to show kind of this is what the LMS system looks like. You have the various topics, and here's the report topic, and you go into here. And again, it's going to go through, like I said, data profiles first, because that's what drives it. And it's going to go through basically creating a report from a schedule as a concept to go through. And it goes right through a lot of information. So this is the best place to start with. Of course, on our documentation page, there would also be other information if you're more of like an instructional read step-by-step type thing. The information is here as well. So let's dive into some other reports here. And so actually let's start with packages and spools. So this is a new report that we put out, pretty cool one. So I'm gonna go ahead and print this. So you'll see on the left here, there's a little bit of more information. Oh, I see a couple of questions here. Let me just check these. Let me come back to there's a question here, kind of off topic, but since I see it, I don't want to lose track. It says, are you planning to create a tool that will place duct stiffeners that are now available in 24? Right now, we do not have any enhancements in the near future for that. Second question, can selection for reports be set to a parameter? If you can just clarify what you mean on that question, I'm not quite sure what that means. So I'll take a look back at these questions in a minute. So if you can try to clarify that. Okay, so jumping back into this report. So we have a few more options here. Like I said before, I can control my grouping, control my sorting, and there's also filtering options. So we'll take a look at what this looks like. Right now it's grouped by packages. If I wanted to group by spools, I could get each spool listed out, and it's basically just giving me an itemized list of the parts. I could sort by category, for example, and that's going to change the categories of the parts that are listed below. Individual items is basically like, think of a Revit report where you can itemize every instance. So I could hit yes there. And as I'm changing these, I'm just hitting the submit button and it's changing the results in the report itself. Then I can come here and say I want to enable filtering, and I get a whole bunch of options. So here I could now filter down to domestic cold water service and hit submit. Um, each field here obviously is going to have values if they're applicable. As you start filling these out, what's nice is when I've selected this domestic cold water, you'll see I only have one spool available. So it does kind of, as you go through these, the results of the additional filters are being changed based on what you're setting. So if I reset this and I enable filtering, and let's look at, so let's see, I only got one location. I got a couple locations here. So let's look at this. Hopefully this will uh, make sense. So I have a bunch of spools here. If I go to my location and say just 1A, you'll see this actually went from 6 to 4, and it narrowed down my spool options. So this is like one of the enhancements to the reports is how we've standardized this grouping and sorting and filtering and the behavior of the filtering where it kind of cascades the information, I guess, if you will, and filters it even more. Um, so let's move on to another one. Let's look at what some of the bombs. So we'll look at bomb for duct. So here's a simple duct bomb. You'll see I can display ancillary data. This does not have any ancillary data. This is not filtering. There's not much data in this. We don't need the break. The filtering is going to be our standard filtering. Let's get another one that has a little more information here from mechanical. It's because it's round duct. There's just not a lot of round duct in this model. Okay. So this is a little more beefy of a report here. So a unique option for this is we do have this chart. We've had this before where it kind of gives you a little graph of the parts and pieces that make up the bomb. Probably not very useful per se, but the report designer allows you to graph and chart the data, which is really cool. So we just kind of threw in just a concept into a report, again, as something you could do. So we have our sort by. So here I'm sorting by category only, and I could switch that up and say category subcategory. So we see how things kind of break up. Switch that back to category. Right now, my lengths are summing, so I could itemize by length. And you'll see it gives me my breakdowns by length. So I'm just going to keep resetting this. Here, we should have a lot more ancillary data, and I'll insert a page break, hit submit. So here, I'm getting some ancillary data. I'll touch on this since I'm pulling it up and we got some data. I think all of the ancillary data is probably going to come up. Let me not itemize by length. Oh, it's doing that. Here we go. Perfect. So here's an example. So when you run this report in the sample file, you'll see what I see. This has the origin database loaded into the project. And we went ahead and generated the data table, which gives me the cross-reference for this ancillary data. So the reason I'm seeing this ENC number here versus an actual description is because this part is not inside of our data table. I believe I covered this last month's webinar on how the ancillary data description gets pulled. Essentially, you need a data table that's a lookup because Revit doesn't give you access to that information, but it does give you the part code. So basically, you need a cross-reference. What does this part code represent? So you'll see a lot of the ancillary data already kind of comes in here because we went ahead and threw a table in here to do the cross-reference, and then some of them just aren't there. And then the filtering, again, is our standard filtering where you can do by service. So I can select multiple services, hit submit, and nothing came in. Let me reset it. We grab a couple more. Might just have the surface, but nothing modeled to it. Yeah. Let me do this. Let's get some duct. Should be something somewhere. I'm not sure why that's not coming in. Let's make sure our level's working. There we go. Not sure why the services in this case aren't coming in. One thing to notice too, we added this kind of subheader into these reports where it's going to display out, various things like service level location. And there's actually some editable fields here where you can come into here and click and modify. A lot of these changes that we've introduced into this update, up into the report updates, was driven by feedback from probably some of you that are on this call. So again, when we launched reports, we had a few concepts in there. With this update, we have a lot of really good, solid reports that you should be able to use right out of the box. But give us your feedback. Let us know what you'd like to see or uh, what enhancements you think could be made. And we're going to try to continually update these and get better reports out of the box. So our goal is not necessarily that you have to be a report designer to use these and to take advantage of them. A lot of our reports you should be able to use right out of the box. Let's look at a couple of other reports here. Let's look at hangers. So we have one for ITM and one for RFA hangers. The ITM hangers is based on the Origin database. So I think we support about 50 different support types based on the Origin database. Again, you can use this model to look at what the report does. You can load it into your project. I'll go into how to do that in a minute towards the end. But if you're using the Origin database, a lot of these should work out of the box. So some of the nice features on the ITM report is you have this ability to round elevation values. You can round length values. You can change the formatting of the totals. Page breaks and itemizing the hangers, obviously, is pretty straightforward. So it's a pretty nice way of taking the data that you have from the project and kind of manipulating it in the report. Now, just keep in mind when you're dealing with these reports, this type of filtering, when I'm filtering this, whatever this might be, and I filter some data, this is in the moment filter. There is no like memory of what I did per se. So keep that in mind. As opposed to like a Revit schedule, you export the data, you filter it. A schedule's always reading the live model, and the filter that you set just kind of holds. These filters are not remembered or anything like that. These are just in the moment, filter through the data, create the report, and print it out. Okay, so let's look at the RFA hangers here. So a little unique thing that we did with the RFA hangers is we include our little diagram because we provide ABC kind of dimensions of the hangers and what they mean. So that kind of comes included with the report if you want to have it. We also have this ability of creating a catalog number So I've covered this in the past as well. This is just a proof of concept. I'll kind of step back after we look at this and show where you can find this. But this is a concept of how you can generate a catalog number that represents how the hangar is built. So we see this quite often where when you're fabricating things like hangars, where there's variances in the fabrication method, but there you don't need, say, a drawing to build it. You come up with a standard nomenclature. It's essentially a catalog number. You learn and train your people how to read the catalog number, and basically they can put together a trapeze hanger based on the value set here. Um, so I'll actually submit the build details here, and you can kind of see um, this is including both the build details and the catalog number. So you'll see this item here. Here's all your ABC dimensions, and then this is the corresponding catalog number. Um, Basically, what the catalog number, as the concept, is 1T is one tier, B is the type of strut, which means inch and 5/8. So you'll see right here, strut type. Then you have strut width. Here it's saying 20, so it's 20 inches. There's the 1'8". 3/8 is the hardware. Um, right here, there's your 3/8 hardware. And then you have 3737, which is rod 1 and rod 2, or rod 3. And there's your 3737. So at the end of the day, this upper part is kind of breaking down all the information in kind of, a columnized type grouping and what have you. It's one way to get the information. The catalog number is taking all the main pieces of this and then just putting them into a string. And since we're on this topic, I don't think I'll do the filtering. This is all standard filtering. I don't think I really need to go into that again. So just on this catalog number, I'll back up a little bit and kind of show you where you can get an example of this and what you're seeing there. If you go to the utilities panel and go to parameter sync, there will be a hanger catalog rule. So this rule is driven by a PowerShell script all the way here to the right. So I'll open this up. So what the script is doing is it's pulling in the parameters of the trapeze hanger, and then it's evaluating the various parameters and defining all the attributes. So here's where I'm getting my 1 tier through 4 tier, my strut set types, 7/8 to my back-to-back sizes. If it's a multiple tier, obviously, then I get this redundancy for all 4 tiers. Then I get my hardware size, and then I'm just returning rod length parameters. So at the bottom here, this is where my entire string gets created. So what that looks like, if you're running this in real time, which this is set to any update, if I go to a family hanger over here, I'll scroll down, and in my evolve description is where I'm getting my catalog number. So this is set 2424. So the rods are 24 inches long. And if I come into here, let's just take rod 1 and bump it up to 13 feet. So I extend that rod, come down to the catalog number. Oops. Oh, let's see if I have to bump that. I shouldn't have to bump it, but I'll have to check. I think you have to refresh it for some reason. But you'll see there's my rod 1, and it went to 42 inches. So just an example, if I do my duck, I guess this is not on the fly changing my catalog number. Let me just see if that changes it. There we go. I get a question mark because that size, if I look at the script, probably is not set inside there. Oh, I know. Um, well, anyway, but at the end of the day, based on your parameter selections, it's generating a catalog number. So hopefully that makes sense there. All right, so let's just see if there's any other reports. They should be pretty much very similar in nature. Again, the grouping and filtering. Here's a straights pipe or a piping bomb with the same ability to display ancillaries and then your filtering. So let's talk quick about, okay, so you have these reports and you have the sample project. Great, you kind of see, and now you're going to say, I want to use, one or more of these reports into my project. How do I do this? So what you're going to do, let me just start a new project here. So you can do kind of one of two things. If you have the report open, let's assume maybe you made a modification to something, or you're just in the report and you want to use a certain report from here. What you can do is go to your configuration exchange and you'll want to find the report you want. So let's just say I want this mechanical one, this ITM hanger, and this bomb for pipe. So I want these three reports. Remember, this configuration exchange is our tool to transfer various configurations in and out of a project. And we use this tool because we can recognize dependencies. So you'll notice all I did was check three reports, but I have a whole bunch of items selected, data tables, and profiles that all use that that are all used by that report. Oh, and we do have a report that has some labels, so I want to come back to that. Just made me remember that. So anyway, I've selected my reports. Then I'm going to say export selected. And I'm just going to throw this to my desktop and hit OK. So I can come over to my new project, which should not have any reports in it. No reports. I can just stay here, go to my configuration exchange. Nope, I don't want to stay here because I didn't put the path yet. So let's go to my configuration exchange, import data, find my batch file, hit open. There's all my stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything and say import selected. It's going to tell you work sharing applies to this. So you're going to be checking out a config. And I've imported all that stuff. So now when I look at my data profiles, I get a bunch of data profiles here, go into reports, and my reports came in. So now here's where, when you're working with a new project, this is where your file path is going to come into play. So here I would have to direct myself back to that C drive temp evolve. And then these came in based on that profile. Now, if you're doing this on your project and you went, let's just say you wanted to get out of this C drive, you want to put it to a network, inside of the sample file here, all these files are broken out. Whoops, sorry. I'm clicking on the white space because I can't see it. So let's do this. There's an evolve reports file here. What I would essentially do is just take this whole evolve file and folder structure, throw it onto your network. You could cherry pick the files and stuff out of there if you wanted to, and maybe delete out the ones you don't want. I mean, obviously, electrical reports you might not even want, you can delete those. You'd be safe doing so. I'd probably just keep all the core and EM reports in there and just keep them there for now so you can kind of use them. But what you'll want to do is if you move these to a network, you just need to repath these. And what you're going to be looking for, so if we take this one for an example, we're looking for an EM REPX file. And when you navigate to the C drive, temp, evolve, reports, report files, EM reports, there's my EM REPX file. So all you would do is repath this with your network path, make sure this goes to your main root folder, and you can use this on a project. Now, I went through the configuration exchange. I mean, and I exported it from the sample file inside of the sample folder. These batch files already exist. So if you didn't want to go through the process of exporting it out, you could always just go right into import, navigate to your C drive, temp, evolve, reports, and then you can grab the batch file right from here, and you get all of the reports that are in the sample project. So essentially basically the same way, it's just one coming out of a project file or one just coming right from our folder. Let me jump back to one last report. Let me double check which one it was. I think it was, let's see. I think it's the ITM Hangar report. I probably breezed right by it. Let's pull up this Hangar report. So if I itemize, this is our first report with labels. Let me just color these and submit these. Check this out. So we're going to be doing more of these as well. But again, love to have some feedback. Send us some example labels you'd like to make. But you do have the ability to use a report to generate labels. And like you can see here, you can color code them. Again, this probably does not align right out of the box on what you need, but it's a good starting point. And like I said, we're going to be doing a lot more with labels as well. So just know in the ITM Hangar report, itemize your hangars, print the labels, and then you can kind of choose. I think minimal color will just cut back the amount of colors that are being used. Save on some ink. Gives you little strips of color. So, all right. So that's everything I wanted to cover. I mean, I hope hopefully it gives you enough information to go into the sample files, go into these reports, start, clicking around with these filters and groupings, seeing how they work, and then send us feedback. If you have questions or if you want to see enhancements made, or if you have a whole different report that you use every day and you want to see if we can create one. We're not going to come out and make every single report we get a request for. If it's custom to your company, we'll have to figure out where to go, what we can do for you. But if it's something you guys want to take on yourself, again, go to the Evolve University, start with the learning videos, go through those tutorials, and that should give you a good foundation to start getting into this. So it looks like there's another question here, and let's see. So here's a question. I want to renumber duck and fittings in sequential manner and not use suffix and prefix, only numeric sequential, but newer versions of Evolve won't let me. In older versions, there's a setting that allows me to renumber straights and fittings sequentially, and it seems it will only number straights and fittings separately. So I believe what you're asking for, let me get a little spot here. So So I'm assuming you want to number the fittings and the straights together in a sequential numbers so that it's so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, regardless if it's a fitting or a straight. Oops. I would have to, let's do this right now and take a look because I don't know offhand if there is a limitation on that. So let's do this. Let me do my duct fittings. Let me just cut down to one number rule, change my element filter. Let's just cut this right out. So I'm just going to make a bare bones element filter for all ductwork. No prefix, no suffix. I'll write to item number. I'm not going to do any common numbering. So I'll just keep that. I don't want to tag it. And let's just go with this. So I'm going to renumber elements and I'm just going to specify the order, or sorry, select the element to specify the order and hit OK. So I want to do those, and I want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's me picking the numbers in the order. Hopefully, if that's, I assume that's the question on getting that sequential numbering like that. The other option is you could do by continuous run. I think you could use that function as well, just to click a start and a finish, and it would run through. But I think between those two options, I think that hopefully answers the question. Maybe I'm missing something though. So let me know. Do you need to be an admin to get into Evolve University? My login and password does not work. No, you do not need to be an admin. You can try resetting your password if it's expired or if you just forgot your password. But if you can't log in and you need help, you can send us an email, send it to support at evolvemep.com, and Alex can certainly assist you with getting you access to that. I think as long, I don't know how we're signing everybody up. Some companies are different, but typically if you had a dozen users, we give a dozen invites out to everybody individually, and you'd have to create your own login. So I assume if it doesn't work, it's either maybe the password's incorrect or you never got invited, in which case just reach out to us and we can set you up.
Great. And looks like we have a question here about MEP Force. So we this year are not doing our traditional big conference in Texas like we've done in the past. Instead, we are taking MEP Force on the road, calling it MEP Force Roadshow. So we just had our first one of these mini local events in Boston. It was great. We had a bunch of people come out. It was a good time. Adam here gave a talk. The next one is likely to be in the Texas area, and we also have plans to set them up in Milwaukee, and we'll be doing one on the West Coast as well. We don't have dates set up for that at this time, but if you make sure you're subscribed to Evolve Marketing emails, and you can also go to evolvemep.com and check our events page where we're always posting the updates. Great. And so with that, I want to thank everyone who came to our webinar today. We hope that you found the information valuable. Again, in the chat here, you can find a link for more information on the mechanical content. And we've also thrown in the link for Evolve University. So you can submit the form on that page to get some more information. Make sure to follow us on social media, and that will be another place where you can keep up with all of our upcoming events, webinars, demos, and content. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.